Hello again. I know a lot of you are starting to look towards next season and your winter training and how to deal with the winter training. And it's one of the critical times actually. It's quite easy to do too much or break down or build up too fast at this time of year. There are perhaps two critical times this time of year, and then whether it's sort of when the clocks change, because now things are starting to ramp up, but there's a sort of a bit of a shift. I know it's only an hour, but this shift in training phase is important. And then in the spring again, when the clocks change, things tend to start happening. People start to get outside more and then build up the intensity quite quickly, and that can be a time that people break down. Anyway, let's focus on the winter, and we'll look at four things. So firstly, you need to start at a sensible point, start conservatively. Don't think that because you peak in the summer at the peak of your fitness was maybe 12 hours or 10 hours or 16 hours a week of training, that's where you should start your winter training and then build from there. It doesn't really work like that. It's better to spend a period of detraining and then start conservatively, maybe with 3 or 4 hours a week, and build up from there. You might be able to build up quite quickly, but building up conservatively from a sensible starting point is the way to go. And a good way to do that is to have a plan, a flexible plan. Don't try and plan all the details. If you watch my videos before, you'll know that I'm not really in favour of planning everything out in greater detail to start with. I like to have a flexible plan. And our spreadsheet planner is a great way to do that, because you can see the whole season on one page. If you use a spreadsheet, you can adjust it quite quickly. You can adjust the days of the week to come up with a weekly format. And then you can add in hard, easy, and some specific training sessions, and a progressive training sessions. You might put like 4 by 4 minutes as your Tuesday session at the start of the season, and build up to 6 or even 8 by 4 minutes as you reach the peak training volume in maybe March or April. And similarly, if you're building up your endurance, you can focus on building up the volume of your longer training sessions or your longer training blocks of 2 or 3 days if you're training for bikepacking or multi-day events. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect or perfect execution. It's building up a realistic picture of your season, how you would like things to go, and then implementing that plan and adjusting that plan, because things don't go to plan almost never. Things will almost never go to plan. So it's having a way of being flexible, spotting when things are going wrong or going off track, and then getting back or replanning or adjusting things. It might only take an easy week to recover and you might be back on track, but having that flexibility is crucially important to your success. And thirdly, how do you spot when things are going off track? Obviously, you can feel if things are a bit too hard or a bit too easy, but there's always that temptation to push through or do more. As endurance athletes, we're all focused on doing more. We've got a very strong work ethic. And the most successful athletes are the ones that are prepared to back off and accept that they're not superhuman. Surprisingly, the better athletes that I've known and the better athletes that I've trained with and worked with have been the ones that have known when to back off and ease off a bit. They've had the confidence in themselves not to push through when they should back off. And as a consequence, they've been able to train much more consistently. Maybe the sessions haven't been perfect, but they've got the work in a consistent way and not broken down, and therefore they've progressed their fitness further than somebody who's been perhaps even more talented, but been a bit more stupid about it and tried to force things and got injured. So you can look at objective and subjective metrics. And with modern technology, you can track your sleep. Well, with your watch, you can track sleep, heart rate variability, and all sorts of hard numbers that show how your body is responding over time, day after day, week after week, and look at the trends in that respect. But there are also now ways of looking at the subjective metrics. And recently I've been experimenting with using artificial intelligence tools, AI tools. I found the best one is actually this Claude.ai. And I fortunately have been keeping an online journal for a couple of years now. And I just exported that into a PDF file, dumped it into Claude.ai, and asked it what it thought, and it did spot some very interesting trends. But one thing you can do is spend some time, if you do have an online journal, or if you can dump all your training diaries information into a one document, you could see what trends arise. And these tools will read photographs of journals. So even if you've got a paper diary like I had in the olden days, that you can photograph it and it'll do a reasonable job of reading the information. It doesn't have to be perfect, you're just looking to spot trends that you can learn from. And if these trends, if you suffer from cyclic fatigue or chronic fatigue syndrome or things like that. If you really struggled in the past, identifying these trends and what things you could have done better to mitigate the risk of doing it again is really valuable information. So maybe that's something you could try. And if you do try it, I'd love to know how you get on. I'll keep adding information in these videos of how I've found ways of using artificial intelligence, the AI tools. One thing I'm going to do with some of the athletes that I'm working with is dump the comments from the Training Peaks calendar into a document. I think I'll be able to do that by creating a table in a tool called WKO, which is a flexible tool, and then I can create some sort of document, dump that into AI and see what trends I find for that. And that will be really helpful for people who've got cyclic problems. Maybe they've got they suffer from underfueling, and therefore need to spot what the consequence of when are they starting to struggle, and is that a sign that we can correlate with the chronometer, the food diary information, and the training diary information, and the HRV or whatever else, or weight data and things like that, and where are the danger signs coming up. Anyway, I've waffled on enough about this, but think laterally and get in touch if we can help, and use all the tools that are available to you, and dump the things that don't work and focus on the things that do work. And then finally, but perhaps most importantly, think about your lifestyle. And because you might spend 10% of your time training or less, and 90% of your time just living life, being sleeping, working, watching telly, eating, all these things. And Claire and I have just been on a course on lifestyle medicine, and there's these 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. So you might want to spend some time thinking about these 6 items. It's a reasonable way of breaking things down so that you can focus on each one, and then see what is your status now. It's a great time to start at the start of the winter training season. What is the status now? What things could you improve over the winter as you got a bit more time to think about things and you're not doing as much training volume? And what things could you do moving into the competition season, or where you're doing the higher intensity work? Both long term, basically overall lifestyle, and short term in terms of around the competition phases. So that's start conservatively, embrace a flexible training plan, monitor your progress carefully, both subjectively and objectively, and consider your lifestyle, see where you can make improvements. Living a good life, a healthy life, reinforces your ability to train. You'll be able to train harder, build fitness better, be more consistent, and you'll get a better result at the end of the day. And of course, Claire and I are here to help. Get in touch, look at our website, make some comments, get involved in the conversation. We'd love to work with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.